My sister, who goes to college at UTSA, though, is usually in charge of cooking, and she couldn't make it home this year. So it was just me, my mom, and my other sister trying to figure out how to use the waffle iron because we always make her do it. Okay, we'll probably give it about another minute and then we'll get started. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, I cannot cook, so if anyone wants to do a Zoom cooking class, please invite me. I will be the first person to sign up. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So howdy, everyone. My name's Abby Rooney. I'm one of your PD co-chairs.
Hi everyone, my name is Roshan. I'm the other PD co-chair.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about vision boards and walk through the steps on how to make one using Notion. It should be pretty fun, and you'll even have the chance to share your vision board at the end. So we're excited.
So we're going to do a quick icebreaker. And so this will just help you get thinking about what you can put on your vision board. So you can scan the QR code or go to the link and we'll get started. So Padlet is like an interactive website where you can see what everyone's putting on their chats. So on the lower right corner, there'll be a plus sign, and I have a question already in there for you. And so the first question is, describe your future in one word. So you can put your name as the heading if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. So I see one, happiness. I see a couple more coming in. Fulfilled, success, exciting. Okay, looks like everyone can see it. Good. Adventure, love, these are amazing words, yes. We're gonna have lots of fun putting this on our vision board. Okay, I think we got almost everyone. So that was more of a general question. So now next we're gonna look into what's on your bucket list. So I'm gonna clear the post for now. I'll put the question here. Does anyone else have something exciting that's already on their bucket list, or are they still thinking? Sleep in a hammock. That seems so peaceful. We have some people that want to hike, run marathons, travel, a couple of travel. Okay, so the next one is more related to, I guess, your major. I'm just gonna clear the post again. And here's the next question. So what's a company you'd like to work at or a project you'd like to work on? Robots in space. That's really cool. I'm guessing you might be aerospace engineering. It's okay if you haven't figured it out yet, so we still have lots of time to think about what we're going to put on the vision boards. So build a roller coaster. Yes, I see a heart on build a roller coaster. I'm going to add one too. Working at Lockheed Martin, P&G. Okay, and we have one more. So what's a quote or motto that inspires you or describes your values? Does anyone want to share their quote? It took me a pretty long time to figure out mine. Gabby's. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I can share mine. So mine is "Eat that frog." It comes from a Mark Twain quote. Basically, if it's your job to eat a frog every day, eat the frog first thing in the morning and eat the biggest frog first. That's how I remind myself to stop procrastinating. And it was my phone wallpaper for a while. And it was just a frog. It said, "Eat that frog." And I remember I'd always get weird questions about it when people would see it. So
I love how personal that is. Yes. Okay, so that was the last question. We can keep moving. All right, I think everyone got their quotes in. Let's go to the next slide.
okay, sounds good. I'll switch us over. Okay, so we're gonna make our vision boards using what's called Notion. So right now, take a moment, exit out of the Zoom screen, and make a Notion account. So you can just Google search Notion, and then there should be this little space here to click sign up. And if you enter your Tamu email, actually, I think there's a free there's like a Notion free and then a Notion premium. And then with your Tamu email, you get some education perks that you might not get with your personal email. So just take this moment, sign up, create your account. And then if anyone has any questions or difficulty doing that, let us know. You can come off mute or talk in the chat and we can help you out. Also, there is a Notion mobile app too. So I use both the online and the mobile. I like the online a little bit better, but if you feel like you're going to check your phone more often than you would your computer, that can also be something that you download just to look at. It's pretty easy to update even on the mobile app. Then let's see, just so we can get a kind of a gauge of where we are once you finish creating your account, maybe do a, let's see, let's do raise hands if you guys know how to do that. So if you click on participants, there should be a spot to raise your hand. So just once you finish, raise your hand. Okay, see a few people are finishing up. Great. And then once you create your account and confirm everything, it should take you to kind of like a default Notion page. And they have some templates already set up too. So if you like what we do with the vision boards today, I totally recommend to keep on using Notion just to stay organized with school, things like that. I use my Notion. I don't really use it to keep track of assignments so much as I do for personal stuff. So I have some of like my financial goals on there. I also have a page where I keep track of the movies I'm watching in 2021 or the recipes I'm making. Because, like I said earlier, I do not know how to cook, so I'm trying to learn. It's pretty neat, and there are a lot of like nice templates that you can find. I'm not sure I quite understand. So, sign up code for Notion or sign into this meeting? Have a question in the chat. Oh, for Notion? Yep, it's sent to your email. Perfect. Thanks. Okay, so we still have a few more people. We'll give it another few minutes or so. And then I guess kind of while we wait, if anyone wants to share if they've used Notion before or not in the past, or if they're totally new to it in the chat. I know there are a few people that I know that use it. It was a big thing on TikTok over the summer, so. Oh, new to it, cool. It's kind of neat. You have a lot of options to customize fonts, backgrounds, icons, all that type of stuff. We'll get a little bit more into it later, but there's a lot of content that you can embed. So videos, songs, pictures, quotes, all sorts of stuff. Okay, so we got a good number. We'll move on to the next slide. If you guys are still making your account and have any questions while we're on new content, just feel free to put it in the chat and we can help you out.
So here's a couple of templates that we have made. I know Abby did the first one. I've been working on the second one. And I'll put the link in the chat so y'all can take inspiration from it, or you can also, I believe you can also duplicate it so you can use it as your own and then change the content.
Okay, so the links will still be in the chat, but we will head on, yep, to how to duplicate. Perfect. Oh, and also when I was making these little URL shortening things, it made me think of WandaVision. So here's our little joke for today. If anyone watches that show and wants to talk about it, just message me on Discord. But as far as duplicating a page, so once you open the link, you should see this little duplicate part at the top right. And so if you just click on it, it will add a copy to your Notion. And so it should pull up pretty easily. And I'll actually show you guys what that will look like. So let me pull it up real quick. Okay, so put it in your search bar, duplicate, and then it should say duplicating to whatever your Notion is, and then it should add it to kind of the side panel. And then from here, you can be kind of open to the structure, and you can change things around, which we'll get into a bit later how to do that. On the dog being, yeah, it is very cute. Yeah, and if you guys look at my template, this is what I have. So there are a few different layouts, and there are ways that you can change the layout around from the templates that we have. So feel free to, I don't know, look at both of them, or I guess not both, but all three of them, see which one you kind of like. And then if you accidentally download one that you don't want to use, you can click these three dots by it, and you can delete it, and then it'll disappear from kind of your Notion sidebar. Okay, I'll switch back to the presentation. Okay, so kind of some reasons to make a vision board, why you guys get started duplicating that. So you can think about what you want. And so while you make your board, kind of focus on your short-term and your long-term goals. So what do you want to accomplish this year, maybe versus what do you want to accomplish in the next 5 years? It can also help you get unstuck. So what are you doing now, and are you working towards your vision? Is there anything that you can, attain very short term that you could start doing even today or tomorrow? It's also good to have a daily reminder so you can look at your vision board when you check Notion on a day-to-day basis. Skipped forward. There's also an option to export your board as a PDF, which we'll go over at the end if you want to print it out, maybe put it on your front door or something like that, just so you can see it and kind of remind yourself what you're working towards. It's also good to fire up your passion. So based on your board, you might discover that what you think you're passionate about is not what you're actually passionate about. And so knowing your passions can help you in a few different areas, whether that's, making a decision in the future, summer plans, anything like that. You can also have fun with it. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you can customize your board with quotes, images, GIFs, all sorts of stuff. And then you can also share with others. So you can give the link to your friends, and I learned this the hard way. They'll receive notifications when you update. So I have one where I keep track of the movies I watch. I shared a link with my friend, and I didn't know this, but he gets emails whenever I update it. And so he'll message me. He's like, I thought you were studying. Why are you watching movies? I'm like, no one has to know. But yeah, you can share it, and it's good to have a friend to keep you accountable with this type of stuff, and pretty fun too.
So with the templates that you have, so we'll show you how to replace images here. So you just click on the three bars over the current picture, and then you can click replace, and then it'll let you upload from your computer, or you can also put in a link that you get from Google Chrome.
And then you can also reorder parts of the template by clicking these 6 little dots that'll appear on the left of your image. And you just kind of drag it around to move and click to open the menu. The menu is where that replace was earlier. But as far as dragging, it's these 6 little dots.
To add new content, you can click on the plus sign, and this will let you put in almost anything. It allows pictures, videos, text. I know the template has a Spotify picture with a song that you can play right then and there. So this is how you would add some new content.
Okay, so we have a little TED Talk about how to design the life you want to listen to while we make it. We'll be checking the chat as you guys work on your Notion. So if you have any questions or problems that come up, let us know and we can help you troubleshoot. But we'll start the TED Talk. Oh, you know what? Let me make sure I'm sharing my audio first. Probably a good idea. Okay, if you can't hear it, let me know and I can fix it.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to help you design your life. We're going to use the technique of design thinking. Design thinking is something we've been working on at the D School and in the School of Engineering for over 50 years. And it's an innovation methodology, works on products, works on services. But I think the most interesting design problem is your life. So that's what we're going to talk about. I want to just make sure everybody knows, sees my buddy Dave Evans' face. Dave and I are the co-authors of the book, and he's the guy who helped me co-found the Life Design Lab at Stanford. So what do we do in the Life Design Lab? Well, we teach the class that helps you figure out what you want to be when you grow up. Now, I'm going to give you the first reframe. Designers love reframes. How many of you hope you never grow up and lose that childlike curiosity that drives everything you do? Raise your hand. Right. Who wants to grow up? I mean, we've been talking about curiosity in almost every one of these talks. And so I'd like to reframe this as we teach the class that helps you figure out what you want to grow into next as this life of yours, this amazing design of yours unfolds. So design thinking is what we teach, and it's a set of mindsets. It's how designers think. You know, we've been taught probably in the university to be sort of skeptical realists, rationalists. But that's not very useful as a mindset when you're trying to do something new, something no one's ever done before. So we say you start with curiosity and you lean into what you're curious about. We say you reframe problems, because most of the time we find people are working on the wrong problems and they have a wonderful solution to something that doesn't work anyway. So what's the point of working on the wrong thing? We say radical collaboration, because the answer's out in the world with other people. That's where your experience of your life will be. We want to be mindful of our process. There are times in the design process when you want lots of ideas. And there are times in the design process where you really want to converge and test some things, prototype some. And the other is bias to action. Now, you know, I'll say that we think no plan for your life will survive first contact with reality. Reality has a tendency to throw little things at us that we weren't expecting, sometimes good things, sometimes bad. So we say, just have a bias to action. Try stuff. Why? Why did we start this class? Well, I've been in office hours for a long, long time with my students. I've been teaching here for a while. Dave as well. He was teaching over at that community college in Berkeley for a while. And what we notice is, I'm sorry. It's a Stanford TEDx. What we notice is people get stuck. People really get stuck, and then they don't know what to do, and they don't seem to have any tools for getting unstuck. And designers get stuck all the time. I mean, I signed up to be a designer, which means I'm going to work on something that I've never done every day. And I get stuck and unstuck and stuck and unstuck all the time. But we also noticed as we went out and we talked to folks, not just our students, but people in mid-career and encore careers, that people have a bunch of beliefs which psychologists label dysfunctional beliefs, things they believe that are true that actually aren't true. And it holds them back. I'll give you 3. First one is, what's your passion? Tell me your passion, and then I'll tell you what you need to do. Now, if you actually have one of these things, these passions, you knew at 2 you wanted to be a doctor, or you knew at 7 you wanted to be a clown at Cirque du Soleil, and now you are one, that's awesome. But, you know, we're sort of research-based here at Stanford, so we went over to the Center for the Study of Adolescence, which, by the way, now goes up to 27. And met with Bill Damon, who's one of our colleagues. He's a fantastic guy. He studied this question, and it turns out less than 20% of the people have any one singular identifiable passion in their lives. So we hate a methodology which says, okay, come to the front of the line. You have a passion? Oh, you don't? Oh, I'm sorry. Go to the back when you have one. Come on back, and we'll help you with that. It's terrible. 8 out of 10 people say, I have lots of things I'm interested in. So this is not an organizing principle for your search or your design. The second one is, well, you should know by now. right? Don't you know where you're going? If you don't know, you're late. Now, what are you late for exactly? I'm not quite sure. But people have, there's a meta-narrative in the culture. When I was growing up, 25, you were supposed to have, maybe have a relationship, maybe have gotten married, starting to get the family together. When I talk to my students, my millennial students, they'll say, oh, that's got to be like 30 or something, because they can't imagine anything past like 22. But 30 is a long way out. But we know that nowadays people are forming their lives much more fluidly. They are staying in a lot more dynamic motion between about 22 and 35. And so this notion that you're late is really kind of, it's not only it's like, well, you should have figured this out by now. Dave and I don't should on anybody. In the book or in the class, we don't believe in should. We just think, all right, you are wherever you are. Let's start from where you are. You're not late for anything. But the one we really don't like is, are you being the best possible version of you? I mean, because you're not settling, are you, for something that's less than the best? Because this is Stanford, obviously, we all want to be the best. Well, this implies that, one, there's a singular best, two, that it's a linear thing, and life is anything but linear. And three, there's this old, it kind of comes from this business notion. There's an old business saying, good is the enemy of better, better is the enemy of best. And you always want to do your best in business. But if there isn't one singular best, then our reframe is, the unattainable best is the enemy of all the available betters. Because there are many, many versions of you that you could play out, all of which would result in a well-designed life. So I'm going to give you 3 ideas from design thinking and the way, or 5 ideas, excuse me. It says 5, doesn't it? Yeah, 5 ideas from design thinking. And the things that people have written back to us, who've read the book or taken the class and said, hey, these were the most useful, these were the most doable, they were the most helpful. And we're human-centered designers, so we want to be helpful. The first one is this notion of connecting the dots. The number one reason people take our class, and we here read the book, is they say, I want my life to be meaningful. I want it to be purposeful. I want it to add up to something. So we looked in the positive psychology literature and in the design literature, and it turns out that there's who you are, there's what you believe, and there's what you do in the world. And if you can make a connection between these 3 things, if you can make that a coherent story, you will experience your life as meaningful. The increase in meaning making comes from connecting the dots. So we do 2 things. We ask people, write a work view. What's your theory of work? Not the job you want, but why do you work? What's it for? What's work in service of? Once you have that, 250 words, then this one's a little harder to get short. What's the meaning of life? What's the big picture? Why are you here? What is your faith or your view of the world? When you can connect your life view and your work view together in a coherent way, you start to experience your life as meaningful. That's the idea number 1. Idea number 2, people get stuck, and and you got to be careful, because we can reframe almost anything, but there's a class of problems that people get stuck on that are really, really bad problems. We call them gravity problems. Essentially, there's something you cannot change. Now, not you, but I know you have a friend, and you've been having coffee with this friend for a while, and they're stuck. They don't like their boss, they don't like their partner, they don't like their job. There's something they don't like, but nothing's happening, right? Nothing's happening with them. If Dave were here, he'd say, look, you can't solve a problem you're not willing to have. You can't solve a problem you're not willing to have. So if you've got a gravity problem, and you're simply not willing to work on it, then it's just a circumstance in your life. And the only thing we know to do with gravity problems is to accept. In the design thinking chart, you start with empathy, then you redefine the problem, then you come up with lots of ideas, and you prototype and test things. But that only works if it's a problem you're willing to work on. The first thing to do is accept. And once you've accepted, this is a gravity problem, I can't change it. This is a company, and the company is a family-run company, and the name of the founder is on the door, and if you're not in the family, you can't be the president. You're right, you can't. So now you have to decide, what do you want to do? Is that a circumstance that you can reframe and work in, or do you need to do something else? So be really careful about gravity problems, because they're pernicious and they really get in the way. But back to this idea of multiples. I do a little thought experiment with my students. And I say, you know, the physicists up at SLAC have kind of demonstrated that this multiverse thing might be real. You've heard of this, right? That there are multiple parallel universes, one right next to each other. And I said, you know, we'll do a thought experiment. Let's say you could live in all the multiverses simultaneously. And not only that, but you would know about your life in each one of these instances. So you could go back and be the ballerina, and the scientist, and the CPA, and whatever else you wanted to be. You could have all these lives in parallel. When I ask them, how many lives are you? How many lives would you want? I get answers from 3 to 10,000. But, you know, we've sort of done the average. It's about 7.5. Most people think they have about 7.5 really good lives that they could live. And here's the deal, you only get one. But it turns out it's not what you don't choose, it's what you choose in life that makes you happy. Nevertheless, we reframe this and we say, great, there's more lives than one in you. So let's go on an odyssey and let's really figure out those lives. And we ask people to do some design. In the ideate bubble, it's about having lots of ideas. So we say, let's have some ideas. We're going to ideate your future, but you can't ideate just one. You have to ideate 3. Now, there's some research from the School of Education that says if you start with 3 ideas and you brainstorm from there, you get a much wider range of ideas. The ideas are more generative, and they lead to better solutions to the problem rather than just starting with 1 and then brainstorming forward. So we always do 3s. There's something magical about 3s. We have people do 3 lives, and it's transformational. We give them this little rubric. 1, the thing you're doing, the thing you're doing right now, whatever your career is, just do it. And you're going to do it for 5 years, and it's going to come out great. So, I mean, in design, we're sort of values neutral, except for one thing. We never design anything to make it worse, right? I have been on some teams that made some pretty bad products, but we weren't trying to. We were trying to make it better. So thing 1, your life, make it better. And also put in the bucket list stuff. You want to go to Paris, want to go to the Galapagos before the guy with the ice thing, before it's all underwater and we can't see it anymore. So that's plan 1. Your life now goes great. Plan 2, I'm really sorry to tell you, but the robots and the AI stuff, that job doesn't exist anymore. The robots are doing it. We don't need you to do that anymore. Now what are you going to do? So what do you do if the thing that you got goes away? And everybody's got a side hustle or something that they can do to make that work. And 3 is, what's your wild card plan? What would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? You got enough. You're not fabulously wealthy, but you got enough. And what would you do if you knew no one would laugh? My students come into my office hours a lot of times and they'll say something like, well, what I really want to do is this, but I can just hear people saying, you didn't go to Stanford to do that, did you? Right? Because somehow or other, if you went to Stanford, you have to do some of the amazing things that the past speakers have been doing. But what would you do if you had enough money and you didn't care what people thought? Anything from, I'm going to go study butterflies to I want to be a bartender, in Belize. What would you do? And people have those 3 plans. Now, what happens when they do this is 1, they realize, oh my gosh, I could actually have imagined 3 completely parallel lives. They're all pretty interesting. 2, they rarely go become a bartender, in Belize. But a lot of times, the things that come up on the other plans were things that they left behind somehow. In the busyness of life, they forgot about those things. And so they bring them back and they put them in plan 1. They make their lives even better. Sometimes they do pivot, but mostly they just use this as a method of ideating all the possible wonderful ways they could have a life. Now, you could start executing that, but in our model, the thing you do after you have ideas is you build a prototype. We have met people who've quit their job and suddenly done something else. It hardly ever works. You kind of have to sneak up on it because in our model, we want to set the bar really low, try stuff, have some success, do it again. So when we say prototype in our language, what we mean is a way to ask an interesting question. What would it be like if I tried this? A way to expose the assumptions. Is this even the thing I want, or is that just something I remember I wanted when I was 20? I got to go out in the world and do this, so I'm going to get others involved in prototyping my life. And I'm going to sneak up on the future, because I don't know if this is exactly what I want. The two kinds of life design prototypes. One we call a prototype conversation. William Gibson, the science fiction writer, has a famous quote, "The future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed." So there is someone who's a bartender in Ibiza. He has been doing it for years. I could go meet him and have a conversation, he or she. Somebody else is doing something else I'm interested in. All these people are out there. They're living in my future today. They're doing what I want to do today. And if I have a conversation with them, I just ask for their story, and everybody will tell you their story. If you buy them a cup of coffee, they'll tell you the story. And if I hear something in the story that rings in me, we have this thing we call narrative resonance. When I hear a story that's kind of like my story, something happens. And I can identify that as a potential way of moving forward. The other one is a prototype experience. I was working with, Dave and I were working with a woman, sort of mid-career in her 40s, and very successful tech executive, but wanted to move from money-making to meaning-making, wanted to do something more meaningful. Thinking of going back to school, getting an MA in education, working with kids. But she's like, I don't know, I'm 45, going back to school, is that gonna work? And then I heard about these millennials. They're kind of mean, and they don't like old people. What am I going to do, Bill? I said, well, you just have to go try this. Turns out, so we sent her to a seminar class and to a large lecture hall class. By the way, you just put on a T-shirt that says Stanford. You walk into a class, nobody knows. She wasn't registered, but everybody, she went to the classes, and she came back and she said, you know what? It was fantastic. I walked into the lecture hall, I sat down, my body was on fire. It was interesting. I'm so interested in the way the lecture was going. And then I met these millennials that turn out they're pretty interesting people. I've set up 3 prototype conversations, and they think I'm interesting because I'm coming back to school and I'm 45. So she had a felt experience, because we are more than just our brains. She had a felt experience that this might work for her. So those are 2 ways you could prototype your way forward. The last idea, you want to make a good decision well. So many people make choices and they're not happy with their choices because they don't really know, how do they know what they know, right? It's a hard thing, particularly nowadays when we have so many choices. So we have a process. Again, it comes from the positive psychology guys. Gather and create options. Once you get good at design, you're really good at coming up with lots of options. You got to narrow those down to the working list that you can work with. Then you make the choice, you make a good choice, and then of course you agonize that you did the wrong thing. All my students have what is called FOMO, fear of missing out. What if I didn't pick the right thing? I had someone came into my office and said, I'm going to declare 3 majors and 2 minors. And I said, do you plan on being here for a few years? It's not going to happen, right? So we don't say that. We say, you want to let go and move on. And all these have some psychological basis in them. Let me tell you about. So once you get good at gathering and creating ideas, you also want to make sure you leave room for the lucky ideas, the serendipitous ideas. And this is a guy named Tony Hsieh. He was the CEO at Zappos. He sold it to Amazon. But he had before you became an employee at Zappos, you had to take a test, and the test was, are you lucky? 1, 2, or 3, I'm not very lucky, I'm not sure why. 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm very lucky, great things happen to me all the time, I'm not sure why. He wouldn't hire anybody that was not lucky. I think is probably illegal, but it was based on but it was based on a piece of research where psychologists did the same thing, rate yourself from lucky to unlucky, and then they had people read New York Times, the front section of New York Times, 30 pages, lots of articles, and the graduate student said, please count the number of either headlines or photographs, depending on the test. And if you get the right, when you get the whole thing read and you count the number of photographs, just tell the person at the end, and if you got the right number, you get $100. Of course, you all know that when a graduate student tells you what the experiment is, that's not the experiment. So inside this thing that looked like a New York Times 30 pages front page, inside all the stories were little pieces of text that said, if you read this, the experiment's over, collect an extra $150. People who rated themselves as unlucky, by and large, got the right answer, 36 headlines, whatever it was, got the $100. People who rated themselves as lucky, 7, 8, 9, or 10, 80% of the time noticed the text and got the extra $150. It's not about being lucky. It's about paying attention to what you're doing and keeping your peripheral vision open. Because it's in your peripheral vision that those interesting opportunities show up, right? That you were not expecting. So you want to get good at being lucky. Narrowing down, this is quite simple. If you have too many choices, you go into what psychologists call choice overload, and then you have essentially no choices. Here's the experiment. This was done at Stanford. You walk into a grocery store and there's a nice lady with she's got a table, and on the table she has 6 jams, and you come over, try the jams, have a sample, buy some jam. 6 jams, about third of the people who will go by pick a jam or stop and test something, and about a third of those actually buy a jam. Okay, that's the baseline. Next week you walk in, 24 jams. Jalapeno, strawberry, banana, whatever, all sorts of jams. Well, guess what happens? Twice as many people stop. Look at all these jams. It's so interesting. 3% of the people buy. When you have too many choices, you have no choice. What do you do when you have too many choices? Just cross off a bunch of choices. The psychologists tell us we can't handle more than 5 to 7. I'd say 5. If you've got a bunch of choices, cross them all off. Just pick the 5 and then make your decision there. Oh my God, what if I pick the wrong ones? What if I cross off the wrong ones? Right? Well, you won't, because it's the pizza or Chinese food thing. You're at the office and everybody says, hey, let's go out to lunch today. That sounds great. What do you want to do? Pizza or Chinese food? I don't care. Okay, everybody gets together, and halfway, in the elevator on the way down, someone says, let's get Chinese food. Then you go, no, I want pizza. You won't make the decision until you won't decide how you feel about the decision until the decision's made. That's a piece of research that's been done again and again and again. So just cross them off. If you cross off the wrong one, you'll have a feeling somewhere in your stomach that you did the wrong thing. Choosing. This is about that feeling in your stomach. You cannot choose well if you choose only from your rational mind. This is Dan Goleman, who wrote the book on emotional intelligence. He does a lot of research on this, a lot of brain science. There's a part of your brain, way down in the base brain, the basal ganglia, that summarizes emotional decisions for you. I did something, got good emotional response from that, good, check. Did something, a little bad emotional response to that. It summarizes all of the emotions that you have felt and how your decisions were valence, positive or negative in emotion. The problem with that part of your brain is it's so early in the brain, it doesn't talk to the part of your brain that talks. It has no connection to the prefrontal cortex or anything else. It's only connected to your GI tract and your limbic system. So it gives you information through felt sensations, a gut feeling. Without that, you can't make good decisions. And then the letting go and moving on. This was the hardest part for me, but this is also the work of Dan Gilbert, who is a distinguished scientist at Harvard, despite the fact that he's doing insurance commercials now. And he's been studying decision making and how do you make yourself happy. So you walk in, another psychology experiment. The postdoc has got 5 Monet prints, 5 pictures from Monet, and you rank them from best to least. I like this one the most. I like this one the least. Number 1 and number 5. Thank you very much. The experiment's over. Oh, by the way, as you're walking out, the grad student says, I kind of screwed up and I bought too many of number 2 and 3. So if you want to take one home, you can just have it. 2 conditions. In one case, take it home and have it, but don't bring it back because I'm kind of embarrassed, and just keep it. You can't exchange it. Second condition, I got lots of these. If you don't like the one you picked, you can swap it back and pick another one. And of course, everybody picks number 2. It's a little better than number 3. Bring people back in a week later, say, re-rank the stimuli. Which one do you like now? The people who are allowed to change their mind don't like their painting. They don't like the print. They don't like the other one anymore. They don't like any of them anymore. In fact, they don't like the whole process, and they have destroyed their opportunity to be happy. The people who were told, you pick it, it's yours, you can't return it, love their print. They typically rank it as number 1 and think the rest of them suck. If you make decisions reversible, your chance of being happy goes down like 60 or 70%. So let go and move on. Make the decision irreversible. And by the way, as a designer, that's no problem because you're really good at generating options. That's what you're great at ideation. You're really good at prototyping to get data in the world to see if that world is going to be the world you want to live in. So you have no fear of missing out. It's just a process, mindful of process. Collect, reduce, decide, move on. That's how you make yourself happy. So the 5 ideas, connecting the dots to find meaning through work and life views. Stay away from gravity problems because I can't fix those and neither can you. Reframe those to something that is workable. Do 3 plans, never 1. Always do 3 of everything. 3 ideations for any of the problems you're working on to make sure that you've covered Not just the ideas that you had when you started, but all the other ideas that are possible. Prototype everything in your life before you jump in and try it, and choose well. There's no point in making a good choice poorly. Choose well, and you will find that things in your life are much easier. And you can do this. We know you can because thousands of students have done it. 2 PhD studies have been done in the class that demonstrate higher self-efficacy, lower dysfunctional beliefs. It's a fascinating process to watch people who don't think of themselves as creative go through this class and walk out saying, you know what? I'm a pretty creative person. What David Kelly calls creative confidence. So we know you can do it. Thank you very much. It's simple. Get curious, talk to people, and try stuff. And you will design a well-lived and joyful life. Thank you.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out how to escape out of the video. I don't think that's it. Okay, got it. Okay, so everyone who was in the chat, thank you for sharing everything that you thought, kind of your goals. We'll move on to the next slide, but if you guys have any other fun TED Talks that you know, feel free to put them in the chat. I know I like to watch TED Talks, so always fun. Oh, it's not letting me click. Okay, we're gonna try refreshing. Okay, there we go. So if you want to share your Notion, it should be at the top of the screen, these 3 dots, and then you can export it as a PDF by clicking those 3 dots, or if you just want to share, you can click the share button, and then you can copy the link and put it in the chat if you want to share it with anyone on the Zoom call, or if you want to email it to a friend. You're welcome to email it to us. We'd love to see what you guys came up with. You can put that there as well. So I'll put our PD email in the chat in case if anyone wants us to see what you worked on. But good to do. I know me, I check my Notion pretty regularly, so I just have it online. But if it's not something that you want to download the app on your phone, it might be a good idea to just print out the PDF, put it somewhere where you see it day to day, maybe bathroom mirror, front door. Let me type out that email real quick. There we go.
All right, I already see a link in the chat, so let's see if we can share some of your vision boards.
Okay, I think I can get it to work. Let me escape out of the presentation. Oh, so if you want people to be able to see your vision board based on the link, this is a good thing to do. So click share, and then make sure you have this on where it says share to web, so anyone with the link can view. And you can also do specialized options too, so you can turn off editing, comments, duplicating as template, all that type of stuff. So if you put your link in the chat, like you did, Tatiana, just make sure that anyone with the link can view is turned on.
Yeah, I think I just turned it on. Also, it's very, very, very fresh. Like, it's nowhere close to being done.
I like it though, it's cute. Okay, anything you want to share, talk about, any goals you have?
Okay, yeah. So like my short-term goals are like my goals I have within like a year and a half, and that's like getting an internship, beginning to work out, and like eating out only twice a month. I don't eat out a whole lot already, but I would love to bring that number down even more. And I also want to start my YouTube channel. So I know Abby was talking about this, but my YouTube channel was going to be about like easy, um, easy meals for college students to do, and then I was going to do like a price comparison. So how much does your meal cost you? So that way, most of my meals cost me like $1 to $1.50 to make, and that's way less than the $6 to $7 you spend when you go out to eat. So I thought about doing a YouTube channel and like doing that. So I want to get started on that. And then like my long term goals is I want to get a job in in flavor development, and also I want to buy my first home. I'm hoping to do it after college. I've like have Mint, and on my Mint I have like my financial goal to make $20,000 by the end of college to like put towards a down payment. Yes, Mint is great. I recommend it for anybody. And then down below, I'm just starting to like make some like big parts. I have my adventures, and there you can see me and my boyfriend. We went to the Orange Bowl game in Miami like over this last Christmas break, and that was a lot of fun. It was great to be there in person. It was actually ended up being awesome trip. And then I have my like short term and long term goals like sections, but I haven't really done anything to them yet.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. Anyone else want to share their vision board, kind of talk through it? You can just put the link in the chat. It's okay if it's not finished yet. Yeah, so the scuba dive trip. So I got certified way back when in January. It was really cold, but then I never went anywhere because of COVID. I finally got my vaccine, so that's on my list. Okay. If we don't have any links in the chat yet, what I'm going to do is pull up Roshan's because hers is super cool. It's my favorite.
So I try to pick a couple of things and a variety of things. I started learning piano like about a year ago, and so I wanted to officially play for an audience once I actually learn and hopefully become more of a professional at that. And then my long term one of my long term goals is to create a mobile game app. So I've worked with web app development, but I haven't done mobile apps, and I really love playing video games in general. So I think that's something that I would like to do. And then I want to do skydiving at Palm Island in Dubai. That seems like one of the things that happens to be on a lot of people's bucket list. But it's really fun. I understand why. Then well, hopefully not long term. I kind of want to intern at PwC. They have like the technology and consulting aspect that I'm looking for. And I'm also trying to stay healthy. So I wanted to learn how to swim because I can't swim. And I had a pretty bad drowning experience before. So that's motivation too. You can also include code on here. And so I said staying healthy is equal to false. And while I'm staying healthy, learn how to swim today. And the rest is still part of the template. So these are the main goals that I have. And then on the upper left side, I put some things to inspire me, like quotes, and also Don't Stop Believing by Journey. That's one of my favorite songs.
I love the code. I thought that was so cool when I saw that. Okay. Anyone else want to share their notion with us? We still have some time, maybe for one or two more. And if you don't want to talk about your notion, but you just want us to pull it up in the screen, that works too. Talking is totally optional. Here, I'll go through mine while we wait, but feel free to interrupt me, put a link in the chat. So my vision board, I have my frog coat. And then just kind of the things that I want to do is I'm working on my flight training right now. I want to become a lifelong learner, read more. I want to read 20 books, well, 21 books in 2021. So I fall short every year, but this is the year. Just kind of study, plan trips, stay healthy. I love to swim, and then keep up with finances. I started saving for retirement this year, so that's been on my mind a lot. What books am I reading? I used to have it on my desk by me, but it is, I think it's called The Night Queen, if I remember correctly. It's based on like the Lilith myth. It's kind of interesting. One I read before as I was reading some sci-fi books called The Sparrow. It's like, if we discover an alien planet, what if missionaries are the first people to go there? It's kind of cool. Just random stuff. And then I have some like random gifts too. I like older movies. The Goonies is my favorite, if y'all have ever watched that. Okay, let's see. 1 minute. Oh, hey, you guys. Yeah, that's a super quotable movie. I love it. I love it when Mouth is talking to the maid in Spanish. That's hilarious. Okay, I think we have time for probably one more. So if you have one that you want to share, put it in the chat. And then if not, we can head back to the presentation and wrap up. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so I'm going to switch back. But to everyone who shared, thank you. To everyone who made a vision board, thank you. If you change your mind and want to share it with us, feel free to email it to the PD email. We'd love to see what you're up to. Okay, so we leave you with a quote today. So you can't do it unless you can imagine it, by George Lucas. And then that is it. Thank you so much for coming. If you're curious about the slides, and Roshan set this up, I thought it looked super nice. This is Slides Go. So it's very good if you have any presentations to do for class. Thanks, you guys. Okay, so y'all are free to leave whenever. We'll send out a feedback form to you after this event ends.
Great job, guys. Absolutely loved it. I thought y'all went the full hour. Y'all had a really good engagement. I love the Padlet at the beginning. That was really good of y'all to do that. So fantastic. I'll send y'all an email in a few minutes with the post events. I like completely forgot about to send the pre-event one, but y'all got it. Y'all are pros at this now, so y'all are good. But I would definitely send the follow-up one. But yeah. All right. Great job, guys. I'll see y'all later. Let me know if y'all have any questions. But yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.